Will Spider-Man be an Avenger? Kevin Feige has teased that there will be a clear narrative flow between the films featuring Spider-Man. He's gone so far as to suggest that Marvel is working on a 5-film arc for Tom Holland's Peter Parker, one that flows through Captain America, Civil War, Homecoming, Infinity War, Avengers 4, and ultimately into the Homecoming sequel. That means the foundation of Spider-Man's end goal, or, given the ongoing nature of the series, midpoint, has already been laid. Civil War saw Spider-Man introduced to a wider world of superheroes, and he was thrilled. In Homecoming, Peter only had one objective: to become an Avenger. However, by the end of the film, he'd learned that he wasn't ready for that. The next two movies, however, will see Spider-Man step up even though he isn't ready. The Infinity War trailer has already shown him go head-to-head with Thanos himself. It's impossible to say at this stage how that arc will play out. On the one hand, it could be that the Avengers films see Spider-Man prove himself. By the end, he could be standing as the youngest member of the team, fighting alongside the surviving heroes going into Phase 4. Alternatively, it's also possible that the experience of the cosmic could reinforce his sense that he isn't ready for this. If that's the case, the Homecoming sequel could actually see Spidey ditch the Avengers, if they still exist. That may well be a better call from a narrative perspective, as it would launch a more grounded side of the MCU to contrast with the cosmic future being spearheaded by James Gunn. Whether Peter is an Avenger or not, his youthful eyes will allow us to explore what it means to be an Avenger and the life after a mission. The Rogues Gallery. Spider-Man has one of the most well-developed rogues galleries in comics, second only to Batman. The villains are so compelling, in fact, that Sony is actually trying to launch their own Spider-Villain shared universe. The question, though, is whether or not movies like Venom and Silver and Black will actually be part of the MCU. Amy Pascal famously referred to the films as adjuncts, suggesting they'd have some sort of relationship. She backtracked, and right now the future is uncertain. Marvel and Sony are clearly wishing to continue working together, though. There's no reason in principle that these films couldn't be worked into the wider MCU. It's true that the Spider-Villain films will have a different tone and style to the PG-13 movies. The reality is, though, that the wider MCU already incorporates a far greater range than the films. Take the Marvel Netflix shows, all more brutal and violent than the films, yet still considered part of the wider MCU, with various references, most notably to The Incident, the Alien Invasion in 2012's The Avengers, and even Stan Lee cameos. For their part, the movies ignore these shows. The TV shows are essentially, to borrow Pascal's term, adjuncts. If Marvel do allow Sony to market their films as part of the wider MCU, Spider-Man could act as a crucial bridge between them. The jury's out on an actual Holland crossover, but there's no reason the Homecoming sequel couldn't feature a couple of tiny nods to the Spider-Villain movies. There are rumors that Sony is actually preparing for just such an approach. According to one report, Silver and Black will drop references to Oscorp. If that report is correct, Sony will avoid casting the character of Norman Osborn, allowing him to be introduced in the mainstream Marvel films, possibly in Spider-Man 2. This wouldn't just be an endorsement for Sony, but could lay the groundwork for the MCU's further changes. Disney is in the process of purchasing the bulk of 21st Century Fox, which will see them acquire, amongst many other franchises, the X-Men. It's unclear how exactly the Merry Mutants will be introduced. All that's been said so far is that Disney wants more Deadpool, but it will regardless require some fudging of the timeline if there to have been a long-established presence in the world. A mass introduction similar to what Sony's villain universe could get in Homecoming 2. It's still too soon to say, but the long-term representative impact is massive. Spidey could be a test case for X-Men. The future of the MCU is still shrouded in mystery. For all that's the case, though, it's possible to deduce a surprising number of details. The decision to put Spider-Man at the forefront reassures fans that, for all the talk of a cosmic future, the MCU will remain grounded as it expands into Phase 4. Marvel Comics have always attempted to set superheroes in the world outside your window, and Marvel Studios have the same goal. They may be going cosmic for a time, but that will be carefully balanced out, and Spider-Man will be the hero who strikes the balance.